Hello everybody, Calamity here. Sorry it's been a while since my last guide. I've been busy with some stuff, but we're here now and that's what matters. And today's video is going to be all about YaoYao. I'm going to show you how to set her up properly, whether you want to build her as a pure support healer or if you want her to be the one triggering your elemental reactions in specific team comps. I'll show you how to do that as well. Now we have a lot of ground to cover, from talents, weapon options, artifact sets, constellations, team setups, and of course at the very end we're going to do a healing showcase to show you just how well YaoYao can heal her team. With all that being said, let's get started with the talent. So first off, we have her normal attack talent. This isn't anything special. It doesn't have any special mechanics to it or anything like that. And in fact, you're not going to be upgrading this whether you are using her as a DPS option or as a healer, of course. You're not going to use it either way. So let's move on to the skill. And this one's called the Raphnis Sky Cluster. It has a lot of text here, and I'm just going to try to quickly summarize this for you. So it has two iterations. If you just tap the skill, YaoYao will summon a Yuigui. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but she'll summon her pet right in front of her, and this pet is either going to heal you or it's going to deal damage to nearby opponents. Now, the other mode that this skill has is if you decide to hold the elemental skill button, you can just choose where she throws it instead of just directly in front of her if your enemies are far away or something. But most of the time, you'll just use the tap skill, or tap version. So all this text is basically telling you is how the Yuigui is going to behave when it's on the field. So after it's summoned, it's going to look at your nearby characters. It's going to look at your active character, and if you're in co-op, it's going to look at your friends. If they're below 70% HP, it's going to favor healing them, or it's going to prioritize healing them over dealing damage. So keep this in mind when you're using your YaoYao skill. If your HP is above 70%, then the Yuigui is going to throw the radishes at the nearest opponent. If neither you or an enemy are nearby the Yuigui when it's active, it will just throw radishes in random directions, basically. And these little radishes will eventually explode, and if you are near them, they're either going to heal you if it's a friendly character, or if it's going to deal tiny damage if it's near an enemy when it explodes. And then it says at the bottom here, you can only have a maximum of 2 Yuiguis. So if for whatever reason you decide to have 4 YaoYaos or 3 YaoYaos, in co-op you can't all use your skill and have a bunch of Yuiguis throw in the radishes, although that sounds really funny. If we look at the skill attributes, we can see even at level 7, this damage is quite low. It does attack frequently, or it does throw the radishes frequently though, so that's why these multipliers look kind of low. But I mean, either way, you're not doing this for damage. The healing on it is good enough to keep you alive for the most part, but something I feel like is really important and not stated is that the ICD of this elemental skill and YaoYao's burst, which we'll get to in a second, is not as cool or not as good as it seems on paper, and we'll show you why. Going back to the skill, we can see that the throwing mode has a duration of 10 seconds, and when it throws those radishes and they don't hit an opponent or you, then they'll be on the ground for about 5 seconds before they blow up, and it has a cooldown of 15. Next up, we have YaoYao's elemental burst called Moonjade Descent. This one also has quite a bit of text again, but again, I'm going to just quickly summarize it for you. So basically, you're going to be able to have up to 3 Yuiguis that are also all throwing radishes, so you'll be able to do tons of healing or tons of well, I shouldn't say tons of Dendro application, but there will be some damage being thrown at enemies with all these Yuigui throwing radishes everywhere. This burst is mainly used as an emergency panic button. It will heal everybody in the party, even if they're not on the field. So if you have several or just even one character that's really low and you need them to get as much health as soon as possible, pop this burst, jump around to get the maximum amount of Yuiguis, throw in radishes, and watch your HP bar fill all the way up really quickly. It is insane, and mine's only at level 7, and I already feel like the healing is good enough even in Spiral Abyss. This burst also has additional passive effects for YaoYao when you use it. YaoYao's going to get a movement speed increase of 15%, and she's also going to gain a Dendro resistance. If we look here, she gains 50% Dendro res bonus. That's actually really nice when doing stuff like Bloom or Burgeon, because that stuff does damage you as well, and having resistance to that damage is actually really nice. We can also see the skill damage, the healing, the damage from the white radishes, the adept legacy duration, and the energy cost of 80. It does have quite a high energy cost. So energy recharge is going to be very important because you definitely want to have this burst. You don't need it necessarily up all the time like certain other support characters, but definitely, you want to have that insurance policy basically ready to go. Let's finish looking at the rest of the talents. So the first one is going to be Star Scatter. This is going to be whenever you jump, sprint, or just continue to run. YaoYao is going to constantly throw white jade radishes during her burst herself. So she becomes a Yuegui herself when you do this. And the best way to utilize this talent without wasting your stamina, of course, is just to jump. If you just jump in place, you won't use up your stamina, but sprinting or even running is recommended when you are fighting, bosses and stuff where you have to dodge anyway, so you're going to be sprinting and utilizing this talent. Next up, we have In Other Shoes. This is going to make it so that when your white jade radishes explode, active characters within the AoE will also continue to regain HP based off Yaoyao's max HP. So this is additional healing on top of the healing that you're already getting from your burst and your skill. So this is really, really nice. And last but not least, we have Tailing on Tiptoes. If you have Sayu, this is basically the exact same talent. Butterflies, or the crystal core flies that we all have to farm every now and again, will not run away when you're nearby or when Yaoyao is just in the party. She doesn't have to be the active character. But as soon as you pick up a butterfly or harvest one butterfly or whatever, the nearby ones will start to fly away. So it does give you more time to get ready to catch those, those other butterflies that are trying to fly away. Next up, let's look at weapon options. Mine is using the Favonius Lance. You don't have to. Again, if you're doing more of a reaction team-based YaoYao and she's the one that's activating elemental reactions, then you can go for a Katane Crossspear. This is a craftable weapon in Inazuma. It's going to give her elemental mastery as well as give her free energy recharge, making it an overall very solid weapon. It gives you damage but doesn't neglect your Dendro application, which is actually really, really nice. The other weapon that I can recommend is also craftable in Sumeru. This is going to be the, I believe it's called the Moon Piercer. This is going to give you a nice little attack buff from the weapon skill. Definitely highly recommended to use with a sort of main DPS to give the buff to, like a Alhaitham, for example, is a good option. And for those that just want your YaoYao just to heal as much as possible, a Black Tassel is honestly a really good option, despite it being a 3-star. This is just going to give you straight up more HP as a substat. We don't care about the weapons effect. We don't care about the low base attack anyways. Just gives you more HP, which means more healing, making it very solid. Now, the reason I have a Favonius Lance on mine is because it makes her more of a utility support. If you don't know what a Favonius Lance does, when you crit, you basically generate more elemental particles for your team. And the Favonius Lance also provides energy recharge as a subset as well, just to ensure that burst is ready to go. So all of these options are great for YaoYao. Just pick the one that suits the way you're building her. And fortunately for YaoYao, all of her weapon options are very free-to-play friendly. Next up, we have artifacts. Now, depending on how you're building your YaoYao, your artifact set is going to be dependent on how you want to build her. So again, my YaoYao is set up as a utility support. She's not meant to be triggering reactions herself. That is why I gave her the Deepwood Memory set. So when your elemental skill or burst hit an opponent, which is going to be all the time, right? Because of her Yueguis constantly throwing radishes, enemies are going to lose 30% Dendro resistance. That is a huge damage boost for any aggravate teams if you have her in those, or even like Hyper Bloom teams, Burgeon teams, and things like that. So this is usually the recommended go-to slot for your YaoYao. Do keep in mind that only one character needs to have this equipped because it does not stack. So if you are using YaoYao but someone else already has this set, then you actually don't need to put this on her. But it is usually recommended for her since, she is the one that isn't doing the damage herself. She's just here to support your team for the most part. And that is why this set is recommended. If she is still being built as a support, but you don't need another person with Deepwood Memory, another set that you can give your YaoYao is going to be Tenacity of the Millilith. This is going to increase her HP, more healing, and because again, the way her elemental skill works, you're always going to have the 4-piece effect, which is going to increase your attack percentage, as well as increase shield strength. So a really nice attack or a party buff there if your team can take advantage of it. If you are putting her in something like a Hyper Bloom team or Burgeon, this doesn't actually do anything other than the shield strength increase. For early game, you can also give her an Instructor set. Instructor set also increases your team's Elemental Mastery, which is also really good. Now, if your Yaoyao is the DPS, she is the one triggering elemental reactions, then you can either go for Gilded Dreams or Flower of Paradise Lost. Those are going to be two solid options for your Yaoyao and going to give her lots more damage. Now that you've decided on artifact set, what exactly are you looking for? If you're building your Yaoyao to trigger elemental reactions, then you want Elemental Mastery on every single piece you can get as a substat or a main stat. So Sands, Goblet, Circlet, Elemental Mastery on everything. And as much of it as you can. And then, for other substats that you're looking for, Energy Recharge and more HP, just so you can get her healing up a bit as well, and more consistent burst. Now, if you are just building her as a support, you actually don't need any Elemental Mastery at all, because again, she's not the one triggering elemental reactions. So your artifacts will look a bit like mine, just trying to go for HP percentage and energy recharge, as well as flat HP. Now, I'm also looking for crit rate, because I have a Favonius Lance. You don't have to go too hard on the crit rate, but just getting on your substats is nice enough. Like right here, I only got 5.4% here, which is, that's good enough for me. This one rolled on the wrong crit substat. I wanted this to go to crit rate, but it went to crit damage, as is RNG. But we got a nice chunk of HP percentage here. HP main stat on the Sands, with some energy recharge, of course, and it got a nice bit of crit rate there. HP on the Goblet, got a nice chunk of crit rate and energy recharge here as well as flat HP, so this is really good there. Now HP, or for the Circlet, you can go for healing bonus if you just want more healing from your Yaoyao. I was just unable to find a healing bonus or a Deepwood memory set, so I just went with a HP percentage main stat, and it's fine. Fortunately, mine has crit damage, not crit rate, but it's okay. My Yaoyao ended up with 30% crit rate without even having to rely on a crit rate main stat Circlet, and I think that is plenty for Favonius Lance, especially with the way Yaoyao works, and she's constantly doing hits with her Yuigui anyway. So yeah, just to reiterate, if Yaoyao's triggering elemental reactions, Elemental Mastery. If you want to focus on her heals, HP percentage. For energy recharge requirements, that's also going to just depend on what you're using. It depends on the team that she's on. Depends on what their weapons are, things like that. So if you're using her with something like Raiden Shogun, who can provide a bunch of energy for her team, the energy requirements become quite low. She also gets energy from Constellations and stuff. So I can recommend, based like as a general rule, is just to go for around 180 to 200% energy recharge if you can. If it's a little lower than that, that's okay, but if you got more, then that's great. Speaking of Constellations, let's go over them. As you can see, my Yaoyao is at C0. In fact, I didn't pull on Yaoyao on a banner. I got her for free in the last Lantern Rite event. But let's go over what her Constellations do. So her C1 is called the Adeptus Tutelage, and when a white jade radish explodes, the active character within the AoE of the explosion will gain 15% Dendro damage bonus for 8 seconds, and have 15 stamina restored to them. This form of stamina restoration can only be triggered every 5 seconds. This is actually a really nice buff if you are using Yaoyao in a sort of spread team for the Dendro damage bonus. So if you're using her with a character like Tignari or Alhaitham, who's going to be on the banner soon, excellent options there. In fact, Alhaitham's going to really appreciate the stamina restoration as well, because for the Alhaitham mains out there, for his rotation and his combo, you do utilize some charge attacks in there which cost stamina. So nice Constellation 1 there. C2 is called Innocent, and it's while you're affected by her burst, if a white jade radish explosion hits opponents, 3 energy will be restored to Yaoyao. This form of energy regeneration can only occur once every 0.8. So this is going to really cut down on your energy recharge needs. Basically, you can get away with even less energy recharge if you have this Constellation, making it, it's a pretty good one. C3 and C5 are going to increase skill and burst, so that just means more healing for our Yaoyao, which is always welcome. C4 is called Winsome, and this is going to convert your maximum HP into Elemental Mastery. All the way up to 120 Elemental Mastery can be gained this way, so for those of you that are building her for the elemental reactions, nice constellation for you here. As for me, using her as a utility support, it doesn't really matter much. Now, C6, I actually have a question for all the YaoYao experts in chat that happen to see this video. I'm actually not sure if this Mega Radish has a separate ICD compared to the regular ones. If it does, this constellation is actually going to be quite good, but if not, then, well, we're just back to where we started, and that's fine. Basically, your Uiguis are going to throw out a Mega Radish on their third throw, and this Mega Radish basically does more damage and it even heals more. So big burst of healing for your YaoYao. The damage, not really caring so much, but it is just more healing overall. Alright, let's talk team comps. This is probably one of the more popular teams you will see YaoYao being used on. This is a Keqing Aggravate team. Now it doesn't have to be Keqing, okay? If your main DPS is riding Shogun, that could be your Aggravate DPS. If you are using Tignari or Alhaitham, that's your spread DPS instead of Aggravate. So either way you want to go about it, this is a team that will work for that. Here's another example of a team that you can use YaoYao on. If you have Nilo, you can do a Bloom team with her. Normally you would bring, like, a lot of other people usually bring like someone like Kokomi for the other Hydro as a healer, but you know, I don't have Kokomi, so I bring YaoYao, and YaoYao's here just to provide her heals and extra Dendro application. And we got Nihita, who's actually the one triggering the blooms. She has the most elemental mastery. I also know the team says Barbara Bloom and there's no Barbara. I'm sorry, I swapped in Yelan. Virgin teams right here. I know it says Shenhe squad. I'm running out of team slots here. But YaoYao can be used in a team like this where you're doing a Virgin comp. Toma's the one doing the elemental reaction, so he's the one that needs elemental mastery, but we have YaoYao here to set that up. Her Dendro application might not be the strongest compared to, you know, like characters like Nihita or Dendro Traveler, but it's good enough, and we'll do a showcase of it. This is another example of a team you could use YaoYao on. We have a Hyper Bloom team here. You don't have to have Yelan or Zhongli. I'm just have them in here for, I had a different team set up, but YaoYao fits in here. You do have double healers, but again, the way we've built Kuki Shinobu, she's the one with all the elemental mastery because she's the one triggering Hyper Bloom. So you have your YaoYao here to help set that up. These are just some ideas of some really solid comps that you can use, whether you're just exploring or going all the way up to the Spiral Abyss. These teams are going to be very, very solid. Alright, so I mentioned earlier that YaoYao on paper might look like a really good Dendro applicator, but unfortunately she's held back by what's called an ICD. I've explained what this is in previous guides before, but if this is your first time watching, an ICD stands for internal cooldown. This is basically a cooldown we can't see, it's not shown anywhere, but basically it's a way to prevent characters from spamming elemental reactions over and over, which would be really OP for certain characters with their kits, including YaoYao. So just to demonstrate why, like when I say she's not going to be the best Dendro applicator, here's why. And again, it is because of the ICD. So we're going to use this Ruin Guard as our test dummy because, you know, they're just easy to fight. And we're going to do an Aggravate elemental reaction. Now, you know, if there was no ICD, you would see Quicken, and then the Quicken would turn into Aggravate all the time, right? But that's just not how it works, unfortunately. Whoops. So we're gonna use Fischl to use her skill. Then we're gonna use YaoYao's skill. So you can see there was an Aggravate there, there was an Aggravate there, but like, you see how like not every hit is Aggravate? There's a cooldown in between. Hopefully I was able to showcase that a little better, so let's try to do that again. We're gonna use Fischl. And then we're gonna use... oh, he's too far. There we go. So there's the Quicken. I think I took too long. There's the Aggravate. But hopefully I was able to showcase that it's not constant and happening all the time on every hit, despite how fast the application of Electro and Dendro damage was happening. It wasn't Aggravate all the time. Alright, so we're in my favorite domain, so I can do the healing showcase for YaoYao. And about the last section, I hope I was able to showcase that YaoYao's ICD does prevent her from being a really good Dendro applicator. Like, she probably looks really good on paper, but unfortunately she just isn't. That doesn't make her bad though. She's still a decent Dendro applicator. It's just not as good as it looks. Is all I'm trying to showcase. That being said, we are here just to showcase healing, not my Kaching's damage or lack thereof, and this team. So I'm just gonna jump to the part once we're all injured, and then I'll showcase YaoYao's burst healing. Alright, so this is probably a good spot to bring you guys up to speed. So now, all of my team are in the red, right? So we're gonna pop YaoYao's burst, and we're gonna showcase just how much she can heal. So we're gonna sprint around, jump around just to get these guys summoned, and you can see, look how fast my entire team just from like almost dying to full health. Granted, these characters don't have as much HP as say like Nilo or Zhongli, but that's pretty fast. That was pretty fast healing. I'm just gonna wrap up this domain, and we're gonna have some final words for YaoYao, and we'll wrap up this guide. Alright, hopefully I did a good job of showcasing YaoYao and her potential to heal. I know I didn't really showcase a damage, or at least an elemental reaction-based YaoYao, but I just don't have her built in that way and have the artifacts necessary to do it. But I was still hopefully able to showcase her heals. So hopefully you saw from that YaoYao is a fantastic healer, but not only that, she does provide, or at least she can provide, plenty of utility to her team in many ways. Again, the Favonius Lance giving energy to not just her, but her entire team, just to keep those bursts up and running. Artifacts-wise, she does have the Deepwood Memories, reducing Dendro resistance by 30%, making it really good for, again, Hyper Bloom, Burgeon, whatever Dendro team comps you're running. This is going to be a very nice set to have. Constellations, if you had them, they even give your teammates Dendro damage bonus, so she does become more of a utility support with more weapon options, artifacts, and constellations. That being said, what I was trying to showcase with the ICD stuff earlier, hopefully I didn't confuse some of you more than help. I really hope it wasn't confusing at all. It's just to showcase that YaoYao's Dendro application just isn't as crazy good as it looks. What most people do to counteract this is that it's very common to bring another Dendro character along with YaoYao for consistent Dendro application. So if you don't have a lot of options, you could bring in someone like Kali. Dendro main character, Traveler is also a very solid option, and YaoYao can fit in just about any Dendro reaction-based team comp you want, and she'll cover that healing spot just fine. She's actually really great with Nilo. I probably should have used the Nilo team in the combat demonstration now that I think about it, just so you could see that since she was able to heal my Aggravate team almost instantly, you know, she could definitely heal Nilo's large HP pool, you know, just as fast, maybe like a couple second or two longer, but her healing is very rapid and very spammy. So that's why, even though despite having low multipliers, she's still an insanely good healer and will keep you alive from your early stages of exploration all the way up to Spiral Abyss. Maybe not against those consecrated beasts because they just hurt too much, but for the most part, she's keeping you alive. And I think she's a very solid Dendro support, very much worth building, and a very versatile character. And I think that's going to be a wrap on this YaoYao guide. Hopefully it was helpful. If it was, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a lot. If you have any questions, if I forgot to mention something, if you have a question about something I didn't explain too well, or have other recommendations for artifacts and weapons and stuff like that, feel free to ask down in the comments below. I'll do my best to get back to you. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.